Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pieces of a Woman.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Cristie North.
I'm DeAnna Robbins, and we're excited to be back today because we have a really special guest with us today. She's not only a dear friend, but she's a colleague. She's a badass in the real estate community. We're going to talk about something that she took on and decided to do, which is taking a sabbatical from work, life, basically, and just travel with her husband. But this idea was born, I know, a long time ago. But I just want to say something about Alicia Holdaway, who you're going to meet today. I've had the pleasure of knowing her and working alongside her for a long time. And she's much like you, Cristie, in the fact that when she puts her mind to something, like she's all in. So it is like next level everything. That's just like you. Like when you say you're going to do something, and I mean that in a really positive way of like, there is no T left uncrossed. Just the way you run your business and how you take care of your clients is like next level. We're so excited. Did you have anything you want to say?
Yeah,
Introducing Alicia.
I think, first of all, this is a conversation that most people secretly dream about. And so I'm really excited for us to dive into it and have you really just share with us. Of course, DeAnna has been talking about how you thought about this so long ago, but I'm looking for so much more that I think that maybe most people haven't asked you in terms of how you were affected by this whole process and everything that was involved. So we're excited to have you here. Welcome to our podcast.
I'm just really honored. You know that I think the world of both of you. DeAnna and I have had such a unique history together with working as alongside of each other, starting as my broker at Sotheby's, but becoming friends. And so as my broker, DeAnna was able to just get a glimpse inside of a lot that people don't see.
That's what we love about.
Well, thanks. And then just, getting to know you alongside of DeAnna and just seeing the strength that you have out of darkness and just what you've been able to do to impact others. I'm just really honored to be here, honestly. So
Well, we're excited.
So I just became an empty nester, which was actually the timing specifically for why we took the sabbatical when we did. We will celebrate 23 years married this year. Which means I got married very young.
Yeah, so she's only 39.
I met my husband at 19 and we got married when I was 21. We actually got married 3 weeks after I had my first child. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. Walking down the aisle after breastfeeding is a wild adventure. But, just from the get-go, we just kind of were thrust into survival mode, I guess. 3.5 years later, we had Hunter. I have Carson and Hunter are my two boys. They're now 22 and Hunter will be 19 in June.
Empty nesting.
Yeah. And Hunter, we just sent him off to Rome to do study abroad. And Carson, my oldest, is living in his own house with his girlfriend and just thriving. And yeah, so it's just really fun. It's such a trip to parent adult children, as you both know.
The trip.
Placed in this unique world where all you want is a seat at their table, and which I feel like I have currentently, which is just like the biggest blessing in life.
Well, I hope you enjoy this next chapter because I can say consistently, Kenny and I are loving empty nesting. It's been a really fun chapter for us.
Oh, I love it. I think it's embracing it, but it's also the age. You're at a different place in your life, but you're still very young to be an empty nester, which is awesome. It's even better.
It's kind of the blessing you get for having given up your 20s, right?
Yeah, it's true. Because you have this so young.
Yeah.
So I want to take a deep dive of just where did this whole idea start from? How was it born? How did it come to life? And tell us why. What motivated you to decide to go on a sabbatical? Because ever since I've known you, it's been in the plan.
It's honestly hard to think back to the moment, really, because I think it was a stream of conscious just over a long time of just so desperately wanting something more than just survival. When I really think back to when did it become a concrete actual goal, it was in the depths of despair, honestly. As you know, 2019, 2020, 2021 were really, it started in 2018 when my son was 16. Just so much depression and anxiety and struggled through high school, and COVID did not help that situation. We had this traumatic event and then COVID hit, and just feeling, and the real estate world, I mean, I was working 80 hours a week, as we all were. And quite frankly, a lot of that was me running away from the challenges at home. It's easy to bury yourself into work as an escape because that feels so controllable when at home everything felt so uncontrollable with a kid with depression. So it really just came out of this question. You've heard the Mary Oliver question of what will you do with this one big, beautiful life that you have, right? That's not the exact quote, but just stuck with me in that I know I'm made for more. There were so many external accolades, president of the board and what I thought I was striving for, top woman in the office. Like there's just all these like external things. And yet I was like literally dying inside. There was one point in our family therapy kind of journey. We started therapy out of crisis with our son. And at one point, my husband turned to me and said, "You need a therapist. Like you are crumbling in front of my eyeballs. You need somebody for yourself." And it was through that I finally just kind of lifted my head and realized that I actually was worth more than what I could get from the external accolades. It's like I'd been running so desperately away from something instead of running to something, like always waiting for the shoe to drop or what. I just didn't want my childhood. I was always running away from something. My kids having the same poverty I grew up in, just always fearful for not being enough for everybody that I was holding up. And so I had to like set my eyes on something that was forward and just really dive into it. It felt so audacious. I mean, for a couple of years, I didn't tell anybody, right? Other than like my closest friends, because I don't know that I actually believed it would happen. And leaving work, which was my identity, whether I want to admit that or not, it was like how I found my value, right? Because I've been trying to prove my value since I was a kid. If I put that away, would I still be worth something, you know? And this was the way to make it an external goal, really have something that felt so audacious that I had to sink my teeth into it and really had to like get to work to make it happen, but that it would be about something that wasn't my identity wrapped up in external things.
So you decided we're, as a couple, going to take 6 months and go finish that sentence for me.
Just get curious about the world, travel, put work away so that it's not my identity. I have this insatiable desire to see the world. Like I cannot get enough. I mean, we've been home for 3 weeks and I have like no less than 10 times tried to book Europe trips. My husband's like, "What is wrong with you?" Actually, he is definitely, I broke him. It's so beautiful. He is like on my travel train now. It's awesome. But I actually originally tried to convince him we could go for a year. And he almost had a heart attack. And so I convinced him that we could do 6 months. He actually had worked for his family for 30 years and had decided that that wasn't the path he wanted to take for the rest of his career working years. And so in preparation for sabbatical, we started putting his salary aside so that I could kind of prove to him that I could carry us financially. And so the goal was he retires, our kids get out of the house, we raise our boys successfully, and the kickoff to this next season of life would just be curiosity. And my favorite way to do that is to travel the world. So it was leave the house with 2 suitcases and for 6 months not come back. That's not what happened, but that was the goal.
And I would really want to dive into that. But as you think about that process, leading up to the time where you said, okay, this is when this is going to happen. We are going to leave this state. Was there any point in that process that you almost didn't do it? Was there anything that almost stopped you?
No.
Good.
No.
Thank you so much for sharing, because I didn't realize the depth of where that was born. I mean, it makes sense now knowing you and knowing the story of everything you went through, because raising teenagers is really hard and it's that season of life. But to hear what was born out of that, I think Cristie and I can both relate. We've talked a lot about this of I always buried myself in my work when things were hard. It was so much easier, but I don't think I had the awareness like you do. I really recognized it more later. So I love your awareness. This is why you're so awesome. I swear.
Thank God for therapists.
Yeah. Thank God.
Give us an outside perspective of ourselves.
Yeah.
Our little inside talk can really do a lot of harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually in a therapy session this week, and this is going to sound silly. She said, "I don't think you realize how unique your ability to zoom in and zoom out is. Like when it's just what you do, you take it for granted because it comes easy." But she's like, "You zoom in and out of situations and have this like global and really close in the weeds perspective that a lot of people don't have." And
That's a gift.
I'm just going to own that as a gift, because I do think that I've been able to have a calm head about things by pulling myself out. Honestly, I mean, it's nurture and nature, right? But I have always surrounded myself with people that I want to be. I don't want to be the smartest one in the room, right? And so I feel like that's helped. I've always had coaches. So I think some of that is maybe just how God wired me, but also the more people you have in your life who have the permission and blessing to tell you the truth.
Yes.
Yes, you know.
So again, on the kind of going to this 6-month sabbatical, for those that dream about it and think, one day, whether it's in retirement or I have the opportunity to do it in mid-career, which is something that you did. What did that look like? Where did you start to plan for that?
For years, the planning was just in the stability in my business, meaning root of my business would feed itself, if that makes sense. I mean, I've, in my 17th year as a realtor, and the whole time it's just been focused on building those relationships, building a referral-based business that would, as long as I loved on people, which comes natural to me, and I get so much joy out of just loving on people, it would feed me, right? And so this developing the systems around allowing for a database and a business that really just flourishes regardless of the market because of our business practices, putting systems to that so that it could do that absent of me. Because when you build such a referral-based business, you can tell yourself the story that requires you because you are who they choose. You are who loved on them for so long. And in reality, what they want is the experience, which can be held by so many people, right? I failed so many times in putting the systems together, but it was just like tried system after system, people after people, right? Having different teammates and really determining who would be the best person to put trust, such a depth of relationships with. So most of the planning was just built around that. We were setting my husband's salary aside for the savings component of it. He failed there at points too. You put chunks of money away and then spend some that you didn't plan on and then try to make up for it. And so I don't want it to sound like it was some linear path because it wasn't, but we were so committed. And after you start saying it out loud, and then finally I was like, fuck this, man. The only way I'm ever going to do this is by just claiming it and saying it out loud. And then to your earlier point, once that's like, nobody's going to stop me at that point because I'm not going back on,
You've committed. Everyone outside of you is committed. They're all celebrating and cheerleading you on.
Yeah. Well, I think the great thing about it too is just for those of us who oh God, that would be really cool, but have never really dreamed it or thought it. Like it sounds scary. And oh my gosh, could I ever save up the money? Could I ever do it? But I just think it's so cool. And Alicia is very humble. She's the guru of if you need a system, she's got it nailed down. Your systems are amazing. Seriously.
Well, and I've been guilty and thinking something like that's impossible. I've watched so many people move out of the country, pick up their lives and go somewhere else, have the ability, maybe it's because they can work remote. I don't know what the structure is, but I've always been inspired by it, but also it's been so glamorous to me. And so when I heard you were doing this, I thought, oh my God, how is she doing this? What does this look like? To me, it feels impossible. So how do you take something that feels so impossible and make it possible? And I mean, you kind of outlined that process was quite a while for you. It was a journey in of itself, just creating the idea, thinking it, and then eventually putting it out there to the universe and some planning that maybe didn't go perfectly, but then it all kind of unfolded and went down the path, which I think is beautiful.
Something that is really important to me that people see, because it is easy to be like, oh, she traveled for 6 months, how glorious. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was incredible. And the amount of places that we saw and the memories created was incredible. But it was what was important to me. But traveling for 6 months is not everybody's gig. I mean, hotel rooms for 6 months, not your own bed, 5 outfits to choose from. Like, it's not everybody's gig. And I think the key to creating something that feels so audacious and impossible, but making it a possibility is why do you want it, right? There was so much more to this than just go travel for 6 months that was so deeply important to me, that is what made it possible, right? And so I don't think it's everybody's goal to go. It sounds glorious, but whether it's that or just a career change or somebody moving out of this country, whatever it may be, it could just simply be that you don't want to work 50 hours a week and you want to go back or scale back. That may sound insurmountable for somebody, right? But it's just, I know it sounds kind of trite, but what's the why? What is it that's going to drive you to make this happen? Because life happens.
It does. And I want to get back to, let's get to the nitty gritty because for all our females out there who love to travel and pack ridiculous amounts of
5
clothes.
Outfits. You lost me.
I think I was 5 outfits.
No, this was fascinating. So
I think it was 7.
Let's talk about how you packed.
Okay.
Because this was impressive.
I have a time-lapse video for anybody who wants to see what that looked like. It was challenging. So we decided if anybody's ever done Europe, you are going to hate yourself the moment you overpack.
Yeah.
Cobblestone roads, train railways that have stairs and no escalator. You're not doing overpacking.
Yeah.
So we each had a roller suitcase, small carry-on roller suitcase, and a carry duffel bag. And then I had a backpack. like a small work backpack, about 7 outfits. We usually went about 7 to 10 days before we found laundry. So
Wow. And how many pairs of shoes?
I had a pair of hiking shoes because the first section of our sabbatical was a lot of technical and hiking and outdoor stuff. So I had hiking shoes. At the first part, I had rain boots because we were doing the Nordic countries, and then tennis shoes. I ended up switching when we came home.
So this
So
was
3
not
pairs.
about, oh, we are going to have a night out. We got to wear something fancy or.
What's funny is that was the one time packing bothered me, or the lack of clothes bothered me.
Oh.
Was like I wanted to feel nice once in a while, and all my pictures I'm wearing the same damn outfit, and that's fine. But like when you wanted to go to a nice dinner, you're like,
Yeah.
this is
I mean,
all
you
I
could've-
got.
I guess you had shopped a little.
Well, Christie's still trying to wrap her head around. You can, but then where the hell do you put it?
That's true. You just buy another.
Because
And carry it on the cobblestone streets? No.
this
I've
is
done
the
that, and that
truth.
was. You're right. It was painful.
Think about, so how many nights did you stay? What's the longest you stayed in one place?
5.
So 5 nights. So you're packing and you're moving from place to
Yeah.
place.
And that was actually rare. We were mostly 2 to 4 nights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask, like, where did you start out, and what made you go there first?
It's funny. The whole 4.5 years of the 5.5 years that we planned this, we were going to start in Seychelles, Africa.
Okay.
And we were going to start in the southern hemisphere and go up. But we were also going to start in June. And then I took on a different role at work. The timing of things became a little bit different with the timing with the market fluctuation in real estate, et cetera. And originally it was like, okay, Hunter graduates June 2nd, and we're going to be like, peace. June 15th, we're out. And so we made a decision to move it back to October and be gone Q4 and Q1 instead. So we swapped, and we did the northern hemisphere instead of the southern hemisphere first. And so when we'd switched, then we decided to start with all the Nordic countries. So we started in Iceland. We actually started in New York with my nephew for a couple of days, which was awesome. But Iceland, and then the Faroe Islands, which a lot of people haven't heard of, but should really highly recommend on your bucket list. And then over to Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Copenhagen.
Oh my gosh. Doesn't that just sound,
It sounds incredible.
if Cristie can get over the packing, maybe.
So here, yes, that's probably number one that I've got to conquer. But something that just came to mind for me. Okay, so traveling for me has always been a challenge in this industry, depending on what position you're in. And I've never had the ability to disconnect from work. That's just not how, one, I'm wired, but also I think the job really kind of requires that of me. What I love about what you were able to do is part of your plan was to be able to disconnect.
Yeah.
And so that had to be new to you, I'm guessing. And how long did it take you to settle into that space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would guess that all my friends were placing bets on how long it would take me behind my back before we left, because I don't disconnect very well. But I did trial runs leading up to it. We had gone to Europe in April of last year for my nephew's wedding, and we're gone for 16 days. And I think I opened my email once. And so we did these like little, I'm going to literally disconnect, and you can get me if you have to, but I'm going to try to completely disconnect. And I did that for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then engage back in to kind of stress test the systems. And they broke at times, and we, fixed it. But once we were gone, it didn't take me long. It took my nervous system a long time.
Right.
But it didn't take me long in practice not to open the email. I mean, I dumbed my phone down. I switched phone numbers and forwarded my phone number that has been my phone number for 20 plus years, and the only phone number people know in real estate. I forwarded it to my team. Talk about letting go. That was a little scary. They would get calls from my family, and they're like, so just a reminder that Alicia has a new phone number. My mom's like, oh yeah, shoot, I'll call the other number. But deleting the systems apps, everything got deleted off my phone. My email was forwarded to my team. You have to, there is no way you're going to disconnect with notifications, right? Like, to pretend that you're just going to not look at them is silly. And so the physical practice of like putting the boundaries in place was right away. My nervous system really calmed like probably 3 to 4 weeks in.
Wow.
How did your ego do?
Surprisingly well, I think. I don't know why that feels so weird to say, but I don't feel like it showed up in a way that was a hindrance at all. Nobody's asked me that. I don't think it was an issue.
I love that. I love it.
I'm trying to think of a situation.
Because there was such an investment in this entire journey.
Yeah.
And so I love that you were able to calm your nervous system, and also your ego did not have any effects to you. There's another way to put this, but your ego didn't try to drive everything,
Yeah.
which would have created more with your nervous system, I think.
Yeah. I think that I'm just, this is unfiltered thought here, but I think my ego was wrapped up into this project that it was like so okay letting go of work because it meant I could accomplish this other thing. So maybe that's why it didn't get on the one.
Oh, that makes sense though. So what was the best surprise that happened? What was something that, or a place, or that you're like, oh my God, we didn't expect this, but wow.
I mean, the actual best surprise was orcas literally swimming right in front of my cabin in the Lofoten Islands. And actually, can I tell you a quick story?
Yes.
Okay. So Norway was hands down my favorite country, hands down.
Oh, okay.
Has to go on everybody's bucket list. The reason we went to Norway was to go to the Lofoten Islands. It's this archipelago of islands towards the northern part that are just absolutely stunning. I mean, these rocks just seemingly jet out of the water, out of the ocean, and they're like pointy. The fjords are just amazing.
They are beautiful.
They're so beautiful. So we're at the top of northern Norway in a city called Tromsø, and I found this whale or orca tour that you could take, but it was a 4.5-hour bus ride, even further north than where we were.
Wow.
Because you have to go up into the Nordic Sea where they, migrate to. And Brad was like, no. I don't like orcas enough to go on a 4.5-hour bus ride. So I went by myself. And because, daylight ends at like 3:30-ish in the afternoon, you have to start really early. So I got my ass on a bus at 5 a.m. and took 4.5-hour drive to get on this little dinghy boat. I mean, there were times my butt was so sore. We had 3 layers, and by the time we were done, my bottom layer was still wet. I mean, we had like a fishing suit on.
Oh, wow.
You have goggles on. And you're like skipping swells that are like 5 and 6 feet in the air. Like in the little rubber.
Yes.
But we got to get out into the Nordic Sea to find these orcas. So, I mean, it's invigorating. It's so cool. It's so exciting. And we're like 2.5 hours into this 3-hour, we still haven't seen them. And she's like checking constantly. I think there's 6 of us on the boat. Like, are you guys okay on time? If you want, I'll keep hunting, And finally, we got into this pod of 9 orcas. I mean, they swam from me to this curtain. Like, they were so close, so big. It was so exciting. So I go on this whole adventure. And then that evening, we take a ride down to our hotel for the night. 2 nights later, we're in one of the little red cabins that you see all over Instagram on one of the islands called Rain. Our cabin's here, and you have these glass ceiling and windows, and I see the birds circling, which can only mean one thing.
Yeah.
There's whales out there. So I'm like, babe, Brad, look, I think there's orcas out there. The orcas literally swam right into the bay, right in front. So I went on this long ass journey to hunt the orcas, and then he gets to just sit up in bed and see the damn orcas. I was like, you jerk. Anyway, no, it was awesome. And I went outside. He was like, cool, and went back to bed. I went out and sat on that deck and cried for an hour just watching them. It was amazing, but it was the most enthralling just surprise of, what are they doing right here? They came to find me.
We
could
tell you. We knew you wanted it.
Anyway, so that was probably the biggest surprise. I really thought that Iceland would just take my breath away, and it did in so many ways, but Norway surpassed it.
I was
like by leaps and bounds.
Lucky enough to travel to Norway, so I hear you there. And it's not a place I would have intentionally said, oh, I'm going to make a trip here, but our company, our President's Club there, and it was incredible. So you're talking about Brad, so I have to ask, 6 months, the 2 of you. Let's talk about that. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. I'm only asking because I think about, and I might be a little bit too bold to say this, but when Kenny and I traveled together, I learned things about him, and we've been together 29 years. And there are some things I'm like, what? You need to eat 3 times a day? We're not together enough during the day for me. This is an inconvenience. Let's just do what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 6 months, just the 2 of you.
It was hard. So I should probably give some context. We ended up only being gone for 5 months instead of 6. And we came home in the middle, which we had not planned on. And it's because in the 1st of November, we were in Finland, and we got the news that my stepdad was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. I have a complicated history with my stepdad. And so the variety of emotions was so wild. And the way Brad showed up for me when I just felt like I couldn't I could not tie my emotions together. I couldn't stop crying. Like, we'd be in a restaurant, I'd just cry. The whole plane ride home, I cried. And when I said, I think we need to go home, I mean, obviously we're hoping for the best, but the worst case scenario is he doesn't wake up from the surgery. We have to go home. He didn't blink an eye. Like, this wasn't just my sabbatical, it was his too. And he's not the insatiable traveler that I am. He does it in support of me and enjoys it, but it's not like what he would choose necessarily until we went. And now he's like totally on board. But so for him to like gear up to be gone and then to break that and go home was going to be really hard. I don't know that we knew how hard it was, because it's like you finally wrap your head around not going home and now you bring that comfort back in and we're expected to go back. That was hard. But anyway, I came home feeling like, man, I was worried about, we did couples therapy for about 1.5 years leading up to sabbatical in anticipation of, we have literally only been married with children. Our lives have been beautiful chaos for 22 years. We've never spent 24/7 together. This is going to be interesting. And we're very different people, very different people.
See, I'm just interjecting. See, this is why when she's all in, the prep that went into this. That's what I'm saying. That's amazing.
Incredible that you did therapy before. You anticipated, we need to make sure we've thought through everything.
Yeah, it crossed my mind that I'm going to have this anticipation. I have a lot of expectations on what this is going to look like because I've thought about it for so long. He has his expectations and anticipation and nerves and all the things. If we don't speak those expectations out loud and calibrate, it's going to be harder even still, right? So we knew that it would be a challenge to spend that much time together. And I adore my husband.
Right.
And I knew it would be really challenging. I came home and I think I told one of my friends, like, I really thought this was going to be really hard on us. And I'm more in love with him today than I ever have. And it was because I was in this place of feeling so just pulled in so many emotional ways because of my stepdad's diagnosis. And he just stepped in like he has for 23 years and just been when I needed him to quietly. Right. He is like such a quiet, calm being. Anyway, and so his support and not questioning. We sat in a coffee shop in Finland searching for flight paths home that wouldn't cost an arm and a leg and, would make sense for us for where we were in Finland for like 4.5 hours one day. And most of it, it sounds so dramatic, but I was like, I wasn't functioning, honestly. I just bawled in a coffee shop for hours and hours. Anyway, and so we came home. I felt just so incredibly blessed and grateful for how he showed up for me in that moment. And then we left the Florida Keys for a bit, came back for his first oncology appointment, and then found out that, the life expectancy was much shorter than what we had anticipated, even all the research we had done. And so we decided and all my mom wanted was a family picture with all 21 of us before, while she could have that. And I want to say, a miracle could still happen. He's doing really well right now. Anyway, so we came home for that, left to the Keys. And for some reason, I think just the emotions of everything, I started picking at everything that he did. Like, it was like every little annoyance that you just get, like, just move past and go do something else in the house or at work or whatever during everyday life. There's nowhere to run to. It just started nagging at everything. Yeah, it got really hard, man.
But was this after you had come home?
This was after we came home and went back out.
Okay.
So we were home until the day after Christmas. We stayed through Christmas for my parents, and then we left the day after Christmas. And just the weeks after just started getting harder and harder on our relationship. I just found that everything bothered me. And again, I don't filter a whole lot. And anyway, so my only point in bringing that up is the blessing of it all was that because there was nowhere to hide, all those elephants were in the room with us day after day. And we just kept addressing, we got in some heavy doozy arguments. And I just feel like moving forward, things that probably would have taken a long time for us to work through because you just kind of like go through your day and forget about it and you distract yourself with other things. We had nothing to distract us. And so we just had to address it head on, which was really hard and painful. But I feel like we're stronger on this side of it.
It's interesting because and I'm just assuming because I don't have all the context, but the first portion of your trip, it didn't sound like there was a lot of that was happening. And then you had this life reality hit. And that's when everything really can shift for us and shows up. And then that's where your relationship had to navigate that in a strenuous place, but also being away from your comfort. And I love that you were able to work through it, but it was interesting because you could have gone the full 5-6 months and maybe that would have never happened, but it probably needed to happen so that you could kind of test what you were talking about with you living without all the other stuff in your world.
That's the thing. And again, it's easy to look from the outside and just see all the pictures on Instagram and all the cool places we went. And I'm not diminishing that. It was life-changing, perspective shifting beauty, right? But life doesn't stop lifing, even though you do all the planning, goddammit. It's worth noting too that for Brad, 30 years with a family business, you want to talk about identity being in work, retiring at 48 years old and getting the question over and over and over again. So what's next? Or what are you doing with your time? And just feeling like, oh my God, I don't know yet. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then to be thrust out of your comfort zone. I'm going through perimenopause. Our lives have just completely changed. Everything about it, right? No kids at home. He isn't in his career. I have stepped outside of my career for the first time. You're in so much unknown. And so there's just, if you allow it, all this rawness for things to come to the surface, which means it's not always going to be beautiful and roses. And then you throw a terminal illness for somebody you care deeply about. And it just really throws everything for a loop.
Yeah.
What would you say you learned the most about your relationship through that?
Honestly, the hard truth was the codependency. Just how dependent we had become in different ways on each other. And especially for Brad, I mean, I'm just like if it's going to be, I'm going to just do it, right? If it needs to be done, I'm just going to do it. And a lot of just my personality and his personality mixed, and then natural courses of our careers and income levels and just things that society puts these BS, weight to, created a dynamic where there was an imbalance of dependency that was unhealthy, and course correcting or calibrating that is what we're in right now. And I think that I don't know that we ever would have genuinely been able to do that within the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Without stepping outside of the rhythm of the day-to-day.
You wouldn't have had time
Yeah.
to really focus on it.
We wouldn't have taken the time.
Yeah.
Very
Wow.
therapeutic, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I knew I would come home changed, but I didn't realize in what ways. And I also didn't put enough stock, I think, in like the season of life that we were doing this. We timed it for the season of life of like, oh, let's kick off we sacrificed these younger years to raise our family. Now we're young empty nesters. Let's take advantage of that and travel, because we couldn't. I don't think we gave enough stock to what our bodies are doing at this age, what our mental place would be, the emotions of it all. And so the perspective about him, perspective of our relationship, perspective of the world, stripping the achievement-based identity just came with way more impact than I anticipated. So
Thank you, because this kind of, just learning the depth of how beautiful this was too, like all the beauty that came out of it. But then also the reality of, because we've done shows on empty nesting and
Solo traveling.
solo travel. There's so many different things in every season of life, but I never would have thought about that, of the season of life where you both were, and you're bringing all those together. Empty nesting, him retiring, just all the things. So how was it to reacclimate when you came back? What did that look like? Was it easy? Was it hard?
a blessing of coming home a month early is that I gave myself permission to not dive right back in. I just told my team, look, I'm taking March to ease back in, which, I feel like I need to give a shout out for just how beautifully they carried things while I was gone. And that allows me to come back and, take my time. I've kind of created this motto for this next season of my business and life, and that's life first, business second. And I'll have the team to support both. I've never lived my life that way. It's been business first, fit everything else in. And I've tried. That wasn't not for not having the effort behind it. For years, I think done a reasonable job at putting, boundaries in place and not sacrificing all of my personal time. But I came home and built my ideal week with like, okay, Brad and I decided we want to hike or golf together once a week. These are where my workouts go. We're going to have dinner at home 3 days a week, or cook dinner together at home 3 days a week. I just started like building these blocks in, and then put work hours in where they fit. and I ended up with a 33-hour work week. And it's like, can I achieve the goals that I have with business within that time frame? And so the new quest is, what does that look like? What's the business structure? What's the team structure? How do I tap into AI in ways that allow for this to be what I give to the business? Because life first. And so that's what we'll see if it can happen. It will happen.
Knowing you, it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the win.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
And I love that so much because our whole life, you're so right. Society wise, I think all three of us have the shared, you got to work and you dive in and it's who you are. It kind of takes on this life of its own. And I have been learning, how do you shift that narrative and make it okay? So I love that. I mean, how old are you? Do you mind sharing?
43. I'll be 44.
Okay. She's younger. I mean, she's a bit younger than us. But so when she said the word perimenopause, that should have
Yes.
No, thank God for hormone replacement therapy. If we could all just figure that out sooner, like the fact that you're there now, I'm still a work in progress in our 50s. Like, I think that's so beautiful. If everybody could, and I know there are a lot of people that are so more in tune at a younger age, but that's powerful right there, I think. So
one thing we didn't talk about, I just hopefully it doesn't catch you off, because we've kind of gone in order, but I'm going to take us back a little bit really quick. Let's talk about the kids and the family. How did that look for them? And did you get any resistance as you were planning this? Did you feel like you got some support?
No resistance. The first time we felt any sort of, I say this loosely, any kind of negative from either one of them is, so just for some context, our 22-year-old Carson, we helped him buy a house. It's been about 1.5 years ago. So he was on his own, living in his own house, already outside of the house. And then Hunter was still at home, our 18-year-old. The challenge to that is you kind of have to pry. Like, Carson's a lot like me. Whether you like it or not, he's going to tell you what he thinks. Sure, you kind of have to pry it out a little bit, and he's a peacemaker. Anyway, so we just are plugging along thinking, and they are just so supportive and like kind of in awe, which was really cool that they saw the behind the scenes. They saw this become a reality. And one day, Hunter, as we got closer and closer, he's having to pack everything up because we rented our house. So we packed every personal item out of that house. The only thing was left that was furnishings. Which Brad did all of that while I was working. One day, I got on Hunter's case because he hadn't packed some stuff up downstairs, and he really kind of broke down a little bit and was like, "You're kicking me out of my house and leaving me. Like, give me a minute, And so he did feel a little bit, I don't know if sad or he didn't feel abandoned. Some raw emotion came out of that, and he felt it jarred me a little bit because he's just such an easygoing kid that when those emotions came out, it made me sad a little bit. But he moved into his best friend's parents' house when we were gone. And his best friend was away from college. So like he didn't even live there with him. So he just kind of, which was great because his mom, who was like a second mom to him growing up anyway, her name's Cristie. She was so sad to be an empty nest, right? And so when Brecken left and Hunter stepped in, she just gobbled him up, and it was awesome. It was a great situation. Yeah. I mean, that's really the only pushback that we got.
I think that's great because I think, look at what you taught them, what you showed them is just the commitment to a dream, the commitment to something that you both did together and sought out. Like, I think that's incredible. And modeling. Yeah.
They've both said a couple of times, Carson especially, of just like how cool it is. We would FaceTime when we were gone. Once Hunter left to go study abroad in Rome, I think it hit Carson pretty hard that all three of us now were gone. It was like reverse homesick. Like he was sad that he wasn't with us, And a couple of times when we would FaceTime him and talk to him, it was really sweet. He's like, you could tell he was kind of feeling lonely back at home, but yet so proud of us and like would express that. And like, you guys are doing something that's so cool and most people don't get to do. And so it was really cool.
Wow.
Thanks.
What is something, if somebody was looking to do the same thing, they're like, oh, I want to do a sabbatical. Maybe it's only a 3-month or they're looking at
30
year.
days.
What would be your number one piece of advice to tell somebody if that's
a really good question. In retrospect, I don't know if this is what I would have said before I left, but now really, what is it that you want to get out of it? Like, why are you going? Because that'll direct how you do it, I think. It's very different to have the desire to just travel and that be your main motivation and your motivation to kind of lose yourself in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I do think it would be a different preparation path because there's the travel. I mean, I can navigate those European trains like nobody else today, but that took some failure too. We actually only missed one train.
That's pretty impressive.
That's intimidating.
We actually got on the wrong train at one point. We bought the Eurail pass, which meant we can hop on and off and go on all these trains virtually for free. Some of them you had a seat reservation, but we get to Italy and there's 2 trains going to the exact same place at the same time. And we didn't realize it and got on the wrong one. It was a private train. And so we paid like 250 euros when we could have been on there for free. And that was him giving us, he didn't charge us for counter. Anyway, that was the only real train hiccup that we had. But, you know, so you have the actual travel preparation of it, and that's not for the faint of heart. But then there's, like I said, the prepping with therapy and prepping emotionally and having honest conversations of what do we actually want to get out of this, which will dictate what kind of sabbatical you do. Right. So I think it also depends on, to answer your question, defining what is it that you want to accomplish here.
Are you just traveling? Are you doing this for some internal work,
some
maybe?
Deeper internal work, which I think you'll get regardless whether you're asking for it or not. But
Good point.
what is the why that's driving you? And it's not sexy, but then it's going to work and just asking what has to be true in order for this to be a reality. That's my favorite question. What has to be true? I think that the reason why people look at this and go, I could never, is because we think of the big end, and then we just like the how is so overwhelming that we just determine it's not feasible. Instead of just asking the curiosity question, in order for this to be true, or in order for this to be accomplished, what has to be true? Because that takes no investment, right? You aren't saying you're going to make it happen. You're just asking the question, what would have to be true? So for you to go and actually unplug, what would have to be true? And the more you ask those questions, the more you're able to then get down to the nitty gritty. And it does come down to systems, right? Whether it's for life, for at home. I mean, we had to put systems in place for the house and renting it out. Obviously, a lot of systems went into running the business from afar. I mean, I paid for a full-time salaried employee while I was gone. That was a little nerve-wracking, you know, but it was worth the investment. So I don't know, you know, what the first step is until you just really know why you're going, and then reverse engineer into what has to be true and who do I need to know? Who do I need to ask? What systems do I need? You know, you just have to start asking questions. And that's where most people stop. Right?
For
We're
sure.
so overwhelmed by the how that I don't think anybody ever even gets to the planning part.
Who were you before? And who are you today since you did this?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. I'd be interested to know how my husband would answer this question about me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I say this jokingly to, you know, since I've been back, but I really mean it. I think for the first time in my adult life, I've been a regulated nervous system. And by that, I mean, my shoulders aren't tense. I don't feel like I have to race through life. Just kind of don't give a shit what people in the industry think. We'll see if that's it. You know, I mean, it's just like so innate in who we are as competitive people, and especially in an industry like this. But I mean, DeAnna knows I was so driven to be the top woman in that office or to beat Scott or to, you know, whatever. I just don't really care. I'm just like so in tuned with what it is that I want to feel in my life, which is joy and peace, that I just feel like a lot of the external drive of other people and what they think about my value just has slipped away. I hope I can protect that. I mean, that's really hard, but I just feel like that's created a human that is just not so tightly wound all the time, you know? That's the biggest difference, I think. I'm a really tightly wound person. I don't feel that way right now.
So there's definitely a difference. So I just am so happy for you.
Thank
That's
you.
so awesome.
And thank you for sharing with us. Like, you know, I knew this was going to be a powerful episode. I had no idea the depth that it would go into. And I think it's a beautiful story. And I think so many people can learn from it. So I appreciate you sharing with us.
Yeah.
And you went
thanks
into
for the
so many
chance.
pieces of it that I'm just honored that we got to be here listening to it.
Thank you.